Assalamu alaikum, you're watching Healthwise. I'm Dr. Tahira Shahid. Food is thy medicine and medicine is thy food. We are what we eat. So today we are going to discuss in our program what is it that we actually need to eat, because whatever we are going to feed ourselves, it's what is going to manifest in our life, in our lifestyle, in everything we do, in who we are, in how we think, and how we behave, and how our entire mechanism works. So today we have invited onto our studio two very distinguished guests, and it's a pleasure to meet them. Women empowerment, very beautiful young women. I welcome you to the show, Dr. Fatma Khan, who's a dietitian and who is also she's not just a certified dietitian, but also she's leading the development sector, and we'll be discussing all her projects in detail as well. Thank you for joining us. And we welcome Dr. Nausheen Abbas. Thank you so much, Dr. Nausheen, who is not only an MBBS doctor, but a master's in nutrition and the head of nutrition at Pakistan Air Force Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us. First, we watch a little brief report on what nutrition is all about and what is this hype about, and then we come back to our guests.
During Ramadan, choose what you eat in Sehri very wisely. Since you stay without food and drink all day, make sure you consume water in good quantity. If you are addicted to caffeine, a cup of tea at Sehri shall suffice you. Eat high energy foods at Sehri. These include oats, milk, yogurt, and whole grain varieties such as cereals. Do not consume food that causes bloating and constipation. Avoid foods that make you feel thirsty. Iftar is an Arabic word which means to break. As the meaning suggests, it is the time of breaking the fast at the call of Maghrib prayer. At Iftar, it is advisable to consume natural sugars in the form of fruits and dates rather than artificial drinks. They cause bloating and you may feel uneasy after Iftar. The best way to do iftar is by breaking your fast with a date, drink some water and eat something light, maybe a fruit. However, be careful not to overeat as you may experience digestive problems. Hence, make a very wise choice with regard to what you eat in Sehri and Iftar.
Welcome back to the show. First things first, it's the time of COVID and a lot of patients of COVID are there. So could you please, let's start with you. What is the ideal diet for a COVID patient who is right now suffering from COVID, and then after they have recovered from COVID? And then we'll go to her where she will describe the immunity boosting diet. But you need to tell us about the recovering patient or the patient who's suffering at the moment.
Right. Any patient who has been through COVID or is suffering through COVID I've said this multiple times before on various platforms, that we need to, regardless of us having COVID or not, we need to make sure that we have a balanced diet. We need to make sure we include all food components into our diet. We do not exclude we do not exclude carbs, we do not exclude fats, and we make sure that we eat a balanced diet where we're taking fats, carbs, proteins, fruits and vegetables, and dairy products. Everything goes into our diet so that we maintain a healthy weight. We do not go towards a calorie deficit, especially if you're fighting COVID or post-COVID. You should avoid losing weight. You should avoid doing any sort of diet, because post-COVID people already face a lot of weakness. They feel really lethargic, they feel really weak, and if you go towards losing weight, if you go towards opting for a calorie deficit, that just makes you feel worse. So
this is so very important, because so many girls nowadays are suffering from all sorts of these eating disorders, and they're following almost everybody. Everybody anywhere is a fitness expert these days, and they keep prescribing diets without knowing what effect they might have on this. So coming to you, Dr. Nausheen, I'm sure you get a lot of patients who have actually been complicated by so-called fitness experts, and as a result, they come in with these complications. Could you shed some light on this?
Yes. Dr. Ira, as you mentioned, the most important part is the immunity. As we have seen, people who had stronger immunity, they fought well with the COVID. What affects your immunity are different factors, right? So the first factor, which is the hydration levels. You have to be really well hydrated, not during Ramzan only, throughout your the normal routine. The water intake should be around 6 to 8 to 10 glasses a day to maintain your hydration levels. Coming to that, there's another thing which affects our immunity, is your sleep pattern. The duration of sleep is directly linked to your immunity levels, right? The people who are up all night and they have a disturbed sleep pattern, they will have a weaker immunity. And let's not forget the pillars of the immunity are the vitamin C and the vitamin D. And vitamin C okay, fine, if you feel that you need supplementation, you can go for the supplements, tablets. Otherwise, I think taking rich vitamin C like oranges, strawberries, and grapefruit, and again anything which is like capsicum. These are all vegetables and fruits which are rich in vitamin C, and they give you a direct source of vitamin C without any alterations.
So you should be having your vitamin C. Not only does it boost your immunity, it gives you a wonderful skin because it, remodels all the collagen in there, and you get this tight, glowing skin.
Hair dermatologist, please.
Right. So when we come to vitamin C, could you mention one little nice dish that you're making for iftar this evening that is loaded with vitamin C and all the nutrients that you're suggesting?
So it's loaded with vitamin C and probiotics also. So
Okay.
I've told my maid, because I've trained her. So we are going to have a strawberry smoothie tonight in the
that's
iftari.
very nice.
And it's a very easy thing to make. Put some strawberries, use yogurt and low fat milk or high fat milk, whatever suits you, and water, and your smoothie is ready.
So you have probiotics in there, you have vitamin C,
C,
all the antioxidants as well.
Yes,
What is that
yes.
one iftar drink that you're making? Iftar or suhoor?
Okay, so I'm not much of a drink person. I always believe in eating my calories than drinking them. And I prep this salad for every day, almost every second day. I prep this salad where I add all my fruits and vegetables together with my protein.
So there's vegetables and fruits in one?
In one
my
bowl.
God.
It's really nice. It's really nice.
A difficult combination, but we can try.
So, our obsession with these fritters and pakoras and samosas, can you shed some light on this? Why are we so obsessed with the lal sharbat and the pakora, and we feel if we don't have that for iftar, we are not complete in Ramadan?
So you want me? Okay,
Yeah.
I can add it. So Tyra, in my 4 years of practice as a nutritionist, I've come to a point where I tell my patients, okay, fine, you can have 2 or 3 pakoras, right? Because they feel if the pakora is not there in the iftari, they are deprived of all the blessings in life, right? So I said, okay, fine, you can have 2 or 3 pakoras, and again the red sharbat you're talking about, right? So I tell them like twice a week, but they can have it. Now the concept is we are so dependent. I was yesterday discussing with my friend that who introduced this concept of having, the fried stuff at iftari. We can have a simple dinner. It's like almost dinner time when we open our fast. Yeah. So, but there is a concept. So to, maintain the level of happy.
We can have a lot of other things, like baked potatoes,
Yes,
or we can bake some kind of veggies.
I even told my patients that you can air fry them, okay? Go
Right.
ahead. You want to have pakoda, air fry your pakodas, air fry your kachoris. And they're like, how will we air fry pakoras and kachoris? It's impossible.
Until or unless the oil is dripping from them, they will not give the taste they want to, right? So, but we as a nutritionist, I always tell them, be careful. Because high fat diet is not very healthy for you never know what alterations, what lipid profile you have, and constantly having samosas and pakoras or 30 days of
This
Ramazan.
is very, very important because people are nowadays following these fad diets, keto diet, then Atkins diet, and this diet and that diet, and there are people actually advertising it and sending it to your doorstep, and then people don't realize that they might be fatty liver patients, they might be kidney patients, and they're actually on a keto diet. Could you shed some light, both of you, one by one, so that people don't follow these diets just like that?
Right. So as we all know, most of you might not, keto, when you're doing the keto diet, your body basically goes into a ketosis where your body produces ketone bodies. And when excess of those ketone bodies are produced, obviously it has harmful effects on your body. And we basically exclude carbohydrates altogether from our diet when we're doing the keto diet. And yes, it does have promising results, especially in the first 4 or 5 months.
Short-term results.
Short-term results, and 60% of my patients that come to me, they tell me, okay, we did keto diet for X amount of months, we lost X amount of weight, and now we've gained 10 kgs more than what we had lost. And I tell them, who told
Advised you a keto
who
diet.
advised you?
Exactly.
So, and B, these patients, they come back with problems like uric acid.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been having so many patients who have uric acid, and young girls and boys. People with, they're becoming pre-diabetic, like people in their 30s are becoming pre-diabetic. People with hypertension and so many other problems. So I always tell people, you're not guinea pigs.
Exactly.
Stop doing that to yourself.
So what kind of people come to you with keto diet? Because the ones coming up to me, they've lost their hair, they have pigmentation on their skin, and they're telling me, what cream do I apply? I said, no cream, eat.
Exactly.
Please.
So, Tahira, the most common cases I get to see are the altered lipid profiles.
Right.
When you're starting any form of diet, please get to know your body. You should know what levels you have. So, getting a triglyceride level crossing 800 and HDL and LDL ratio crossing the normal limits, and then you become upset, oh my God, what has happened to me, and then you're ready to go for any kind of medication, and then there's a vicious cycle. These results they're not altered as easily as you think. So, taking a high fat diet for another like 2-3 months or 4 months, and you're still not, and the thing is, they're still not convinced that they should stop the keto diet. So, with the alarming results.
Yeah.
So you have to know yourself. You should know what diet you're following. You should know what outcomes you're going to get other than from the weight loss. The weight loss is not the objective.
Not the ultimate
healthy mind and the healthy body is the objective. If you're not healthy, you're feeling lethargic, you're feeling drained.
You're not productive.
Yes, you're not productive.
That's not how people see it though.
Exactly.
Not in Pakistan.
Not in
They're
Pakistan.
like, we'll die, but we just want to be thin.
Yeah, and they're ready to spend, thousands on procedures and creams, but they're not willing to eat the right things at all.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, and what would you suggest to our diabetic patients? Let's come to those because they have a lot of doubt. And there's another huge problem over here is people actually, Google these diets and then they have broccoli and celery and things like that that are not even heard of in Pakistan and not available in Pakistan. And then they're actually searching for blueberries and things like that. And they don't understand that we have people like dietitians and qualified doctors who are nutrition specialists who are actually going to prescribe them things that are relevant and available here. And you don't have to go, searching for a shit cake, mushroom and all that to include in your diet.
Absolutely.
So can you mention some diet for the diabetic during Ramadan especially?
No. So, should I start?
Please.
So, the thing is, we need to have complex carbohydrates. It's a term, complex carbohydrate means all browns should be added in your diet, right? The more you have browns and the more energy you will have. Why? Because browns take longer time to get digested as compared to having refined carbohydrates like white flour or the white rice or the white pasta, the white bread. These are refined.
Puri, naan, no to them.
Yes. These are refined, they'll get digested quickly, and in a few like hours, you'll start feeling hungry and irritated and drained.
Gives you a sugar rush.
Yes. So, complex carbohydrates are the key. Do not miss them from your sehri and iftar.
How important is oatmeal, talbina? It's known in Tibbe Nabwi as well that oatmeal is really, really nutritious.
It's a complex carb.
It's a complex carb.
Yeah.
You got the answer.
So you can add all your nuts and seeds to it as well, and then you can have
all
that.
Kind
it's a
of
complete
seeds,
diet.
Add nuts to it. It's a whole complex food you have in one bowl. You don't need to go for different combinations.
Exactly.
And then again, proteins will also play a very important role because you need to have proteins. It can either be animal source, it can either be a plant source.
Right.
You can have fish, chicken, mutton, beef if your levels are okay, lipid profile and other comorbids are not there. Or if you can have plant sources, and there are all sources of lentils, legumes, the chana chart, the lobia chart.
Yeah, those are the best.
Yes. So you can have them.
So what do you prescribe to patients who come with kidney disease, for instance? For example, they're not supposed to eat a diet that is very heavy in potassium, right? So there are certain things, like it's said, that don't have spinach and don't have a few other things that might raise your chances of building an oxalate stone or a potassium stone. So what exactly should a kidney patient not have? Or somebody suffering from renal disease?
I just want to add one thing to the diabetic diet. For patients who are fasting and who are diabetic as well, I always tell them, they always ask me, okay, we can have fruit at least, Yes, you can have fruit, but fructose is also sugar. So
there's some bad fruits and good fruits.
There are bad fruits and good fruits. I don't believe that. I personally believe that you should not exceed a certain amount of fruits that you should eat per day if you're diabetic.
All right. And how much is that?
So for a normal person, 3 fruits a day, but for a diabetic person, you should not exceed 2 citrus and 1 normal.
The size of the fruit as well. You can't have a whole melon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Portion plays very important role.
Portion plays a very crucial
portion
role.
control, this is a very important topic because we have no concept of that. Even though we have a hadith saying that, we have actually our Prophet ﷺ mentioned that you have to keep a portion and then eat, but we don't have any concept of portion, and we have these big plates and everything. So can you stress a little bit on portion control, calorie intake, daily caloric requirement of a normal female who is sedentary, who is active, and so on and so forth?
Lately, sorry.
That's
Sure,
fine.
sure,
You
please,
can
please.
Lately, my patients have been coming to me and they keep telling me, Acha, we've downloaded X app in our phones which calculates our calories for us. And we have been in a calorie deficit, but I don't know why, doctor, I'm not losing weight. Okay. I feel like the layman is not smart enough or equipped enough to calculate their own calories per day, which is why I think people should refrain from calculating their own calories and they should, seek expert help. B, we believe in eating till we drop.
Right.
It's Pakistanis,
we intoxicate ourselves with it.
And then the kinds of food we eat, they result in dumping syndromes, and we feel so bloated. Even post iftari, we eat, maybe we don't eat so much, but the kind of food that we eat, it just drains us out totally.
I know, I was seeing this joke circulating on social media, and it's like, is it a boy or a girl? And it's like, no, it's iftari. So let's come to pregnant women. What should pregnant women be eating?
So the pregnant women, their calorie count changes with the trimester they are in, right? So suppose if there are 1500 calories are recommended, so we ask them to take around 1600, 1650 calories a day, and that too is divided into like 5 small frequent meals. And if, God forbid, if you're diabetic also and you're pregnant also, so you have to be very careful while taking the carb portion, and it has to be the same. If you're taking a slice of bread in the morning, it should be the chapati is the same size in the afternoon. It's not like you only had a slice of bread in the morning and then in dinner you're having 3 or 4 chapatis at one time. So that is not going to help you, right? And small frequent meals will maintain your blood sugar levels, will give you constant energy, and at the same time you will not gain weight as you do during the pregnancy time.
And this obsession with doodh jalebi and people feeding them all sorts of such things. What do you
and panjiri.
Panjiri. Please tell us about panjiri, because the women, they become like really heavy after that.
So, Tahira, the thing is we really need to now fight back with certain myths, and we need to bring in the practices which are actually there. So, eating panjiri, okay, for a certain 2 or 3 days initially after
Probably we can have the nuts part of it,
Yes,
but we don't
yes.
need to have the ghee in
Ghee
it, right?
in
We
it
don't have to
and
add ghee and sugar.
Yes,
So we can just have
the gur and the doodh and the sugar.
We can have doodh and nuts. I
the
think
heavier
that
you
would be a
make it,
healthier.
the more you think the energy will get you
No,
from the
because
panjiri.
it's our practice here that we, if we want to give respect to somebody, we put more oil into the, into the curry, and it should be floating on top, right?
I think it's in our houses also, even our fathers, right? So until or unless there's no oil on the curry, what kind of curry is this?
These food myths, I don't think we'll be able to break them so quickly. Because even when women who are pregnant, they think that they conceive that now we're pregnant, we need to gain weight. They don't understand that the first 2 trimesters, they don't need to gain weight.
No, but you have to lay some stress on this, that the more weight they gain, the harder their pregnancy is going to get. They're going to have all these,
eclampsia, preeclampsia,
diabetes,
gestational diabetes, all of this.
So many complications as a result of that.
Even the growth of the fetus is going to be affected. You have to be, there will be no place if the fat content is more in the body.
And resulting in C-sections because the baby keeps getting bigger, and then
you blame the doctor that, had to go for the C-section.
Exactly. So what about these herbs that are in these days, like moringa and all these different kind of herbs? Where do you place all these herbs? How important are they? They're being marketed, they're being sold as miracle products, and you have all sorts of ginkgo, biloba and all of that. So where do you place
Sana
that?
makki.
Yeah, Sana makki during COVID was
my
very
God.
popular. They
And
made a fortune
I
in it.
made a video on Sana makki with due respect, and I got such a great backlash. And like, you're going against Nabuat and all that. I said, with due respect, I'm not saying it has. I'm just telling you the use of Sana makki more than the recommendation will lead to different complications. We actually had emergencies in our hospital.
3 women who had a miscarriage.
And they had diarrhea. And
Senna is a laxative. It's been
Yes.
used
Yes,
as a
it's a
laxative for a
laxative,
long time,
exactly.
and you can use it as a laxative. You should actually know the medicine is not wrong. Whoever has prescribed it is not wrong. But you have to know when to use it, where to use it, how much to use it, and who has to use it.
And it's not for women who are pregnant or
Exactly.
lactating.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Lactating
and
mothers,
it
what
wasn't
should
the
they be
treatment
having?
of COVID, right?
Right.
Since till now it's been 1.5 years, we're still trying to figure it out what is going to treat COVID, right?
Right.
We're still in the process. So you have to, if somebody tells, we go by a word of mouth. Maine khaya, oh, you can also have it,
Exactly, I know.
And half of them, I've seen diabetic patients, they try different totkas by, somebody telling them try this and try that. why don't you try a professional help?
That's very unfortunate. People, for likes and for all of this, for on social media, almost everybody has a YouTube channel, and everybody and anybody feels it's okay for them to make a video on a topic like this that's most searched and it'll go viral. What they don't understand is you have to be licensed. You have to have some kind of education on that to be able to guide people, because it's criminal when somebody follows you. For example, a hypertensive starts taking all these things that are loaded with salts,
Sodium.
for example,
Exactly.
sodium, and then
Sodium.
you know it's going to be disastrous for them.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
when we talk about seeds, a lot is in like flax seeds and chia seeds. How good are they? How rich are they? And how can we use them?
Seeds are very good. They have different benefits. They're loaded with micronutrients, and different seeds have different benefits. Seed cycling has also resulted in helping people with a lot of hormonal problems.
Yes.
And women with PCOS, polycystic ovaries, do seem to benefit from it. Though
So
there is
like
no
there are
hard and
flax
fast.
seeds, and then there are those
Pumpkin
milk-rich
seeds.
Pumpkin seeds.
right?
Yes.
Sunflower seeds,
Fenugreek
as well.
and then the sesame.
Yeah.
And adding to her, the flax seeds, they are rich in omega-3 and omega-6, omega-9.
Omega-3 is
yes.
really
So that is something which is a natural source. So you can have, I recommend you can have it in a grinded form. You can sprinkle it on your salad. You can sprinkle it in your drink or anything. And similarly, the chia seeds are very helpful nowadays, especially in Ramzan. You can have them in your drink.
Yeah.
Why? Because they prevent dehydration. They become 4 to 5 times bigger than normal size, and they absorb water. So that is one of the steps preventing towards dehydration. And similarly, as she mentioned, we have a lot of PCOS.
Right.
I would request that you can do a program on PCOS,
Yes, we will.
hormonal disorders.
Yeah.
So we have seen a great dramatic results by use of seed cycling. You know, these are natural sources rather than going
So
for.
you know, could you mention all those seeds that are involved? I know about the fenugreek seed and the flax seed, and how licorice roots helps in it, gooseberry helps in it, then cinnamon as well. How important is cinnamon in all this? You know, on all our inflammatory conditions where we have turmeric, and we
Mustard,
have
yes,
turmeric
yes,
is really good. Ginger is really good. I
So,
believe.
Tyra, I would like to emphasize that use everything, but use it within the due amount. It's not nothing is the cure. It's the preventive measure. It's not the treatment,
Exactly.
right? If we talk about PCOS, there are 4 seeds. We use flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, we use sunflower seeds and sesame seeds. And they've been taken equal amount and they've been grinded. Then for certain days you have to take a certain combination. Then certain days you have to take a certain combination.
This is really nice. I think you should repeat it for them. So it's flaxseed,
Flaxseed,
pumpkin seed,
sunflower
seeds, and sesame seeds.
Yes,
so they
yes.
mix it up and
Yes.
they take it at
equal amount of all 4
equal
of them,
amount.
grind them, and there are certain, like, please before
You'll find the
starting-
cycle also.
Yes,
It's easily available.
easily available.
No, but you know, when you tell them to Google something, then there's
Then
a
there are
lot that's
multiple
available, right?
things, yeah.
So if somebody does have PCOD, for example, if they do have hair on their face and acne and weight gain and all these issues, and they've been diagnosed with PCOS, then they should follow this.
Exactly.
So Fatma, coming to all that you've been working on, it's like child mortality, development,
Yes.
female mortality, like mother and child. What would you suggest for child nutrition? Because, you know, we are really
So,
a
40%
malnutrition
of the
state.
population in Pakistan is stunted, which means that they do not reach their optimal height, but not only height, even their optimal brain development. And this is, of course, because of the poverty in the nation, and because people do not have access to food, they do not have access to nutritious food. Of course, they might have access to food, but jahan pe there is food is there, but the food quality is not there.
Yes.
And people rely on a single source of nutrition, right? So, for example, some people might just be able to afford carbohydrates,
Like
some
rice or just
staple
roti or
diets,
something, yeah.
basically carbs, atta, chawal,
Exactly,
dalein. Yeah,
right,
barely majority of the population cannot afford protein, and in protein also, if they do afford protein, they can afford organ meats.
Yeah.
That also of chicken.
Right.
Matlab,
Yeah, they can't.
yes.
They can't really go for the.
They can't go
So, what do you suggest to the affording population? Because our program is more or less watched. It's in English, so you know the population that's watching it is
Yep.
more affluent kind. So, what would you suggest to the growing kids, like growing teenagers, little children?
There might be affluent, but I'm sorry, even people who have access to good food, they have pathetic lifestyles,
Choices,
pathetic
right?
food
Junk food,
choices,
junk
pathetic
food.
lifestyles.
So, what about processed meat?
Processed
Processed
food, yes,
meat
I
is the
have.
worst. Nitrites.
I
that's-
literally tell my patients cancer. Literally,
Right, yeah.
I scare them
So
like
these
that.
nuggets that you
And
see,
you know what,
and
this
these
starts
processed
from the kitchen, from the house, from the mother and all that. And unfortunately, I've seen that being working mother or being a busy mother, these processed
lifesavers,
yes,
but then they're actually not lifesavers.
They're not lifesavers. They have taken us to too many complications. She's right. They can lead to us cancer and all that because they have
gut issues.
Yes, gut issues,
So many gut
IBS.
issues.
You name them,
Yes,
and they're
IBS has
GERD
become
and
so
all that.
common.
Exactly.
IBS is very, very common. Stress and everything else related to it.
And that's common in young kids. It's not that you've crossed 30, so you have been complaining.
It's because of their eating habits, the colas, the processed meats, the sugars,
the easy
all the
access,
preservatives and everything.
Due to the apps, you easily just
Children
order.
eat no fruits. They eat no vegetables.
Yes.
You ask them whatever, any time of the day you ask them, what do you want to have? They'll say nuggets.
Exactly.
There's no fiber going into their systems.
Yeah.
They're constipated. They have no micronutrients going
And
into
then
their
they have
systems.
ADHD as well.
Yes.
They have ADHD. They're shorter than their height. They're underweight. Some of
Yeah.
them are obese.
Depression, anxiety.
They take high amounts of sugar, juices,
All right. So
drinks.
we're going to call you once again because
Such a
you
good
have
job.
had the best episode so far, and I'm so proud of my women.
Thank you
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us. Thank you. It was a pleasure, and we're going to have
Same
one more episode where we go into real detail. Thank you so much for
Inshallah.
watching us. Hope you enjoyed as much as we enjoyed, and see you tomorrow with another episode of Healthwise. Allah Hafiz.